This is perpendicular question number 3 with a bit of a mix in there because we're going to be asking you about parallels or neither parallels nor perpendiculars. Are the following equations parallel, perpendicular, or neither? And then justify your answer. Well, quick reminder, if they're parallel, they'll have the same A. And if they're parallel, same A. Perpendicular have negative reciprocal slopes, or perpendicular A's, if that's the sign for perpendicular. And neither parallel nor perpendicular means they just have different A's, but not negative reciprocals. So regardless of which of the 3 instances is going to occur here, we can't do anything until we get these equations isolated. And so to isolate the y in this equation, I'm going to start by subtracting 6. And let's bring that over there. This guy over here, sorry. And that's going to give me 4x minus 3y is equal to negative 6. And then I'm going to subtract 4x from there and there. And remember, you're subtracting 4x, not just 4. Right, goes away, and that leaves me with negative 3y is equal to negative 4x minus 6. The 4 and the 6 have nothing to do with each other. These are not like terms. They have to stay like that. Last I'm going to do is divide both sides by negative 3 right across the board there. And that'll leave me with y is equal to, now, negative 4 divided by negative 3, calculator time here. What you're going to notice is you're going to get a repeating decimal. So that's positive 1.3 with the 3 repeating. It's very important that you indicate that repeating 3. And if it was like a super long decimal, like 0.12575 or something, you want to keep as much of that decimal as possible. It's going to affect our calculations later. Plus 2, because negative 6 divided by negative 3 is a positive 2. So there's my first y equals ax plus b. Over here, a little easier. I only have a little bit of work to do. I just have to divide everything by 8. And that's going to leave me with y is equal to negative 6 divided by 8 is going to be equal to negative 0.75 x plus 2 again. So we can see right away that the lines are definitely not parallel. I mean, this slope, this A over here and this A over here are not at all the same. The A here is 1.3 repeating, and the A here is negative 0.75. So I can scratch out parallel. There's no way that these lines are parallel. So the question is, are these numbers negative reciprocals of each other? And if they're negative reciprocals of each other, then these would be perpendicular lines. If they're not negative reciprocals of each other, and they're not the same, then that tells us these lines are neither parallel nor perpendicular. They're just 2 differently sloped lines that cross somewhere. So how do I do that? Well, I have to take the negative reciprocal of this A right here. And when I take the negative reciprocal of 1.3 repeating, if I get this number, then this tells me that the lines are perpendicular. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to get that perpendicular A by saying, okay, take your original A, and that's going to change into negative 1 over A, right? So change the sign and flip the fraction. So on the calculator, what we're going to do is we're going to go 1 divided by 1.3 repeating. Negative 1, sorry, divided by 1.3 repeating. So negative 1 divided by 1 point, and now this is important. You want to put as many of those 3's in there as you can. And that's going to come to negative 0.75. So my perpendicular A is equal to negative 0.75. And you could see that it's the same now. So when I took the negative reciprocal of 1.3, so, put it over 1, flip it and change the sign, that creates the negative 0.75. They're the same. They are the negative reciprocals of each other, negative reciprocal slopes. So these are perpendicular lines. They have negative reciprocal slopes. And that's really all you have to do to determine whether two lines are perpendicular or not. Just one last thing I'd like to show you. What happens if you don't put that whole 3 repeating in there? And this is really important. So if on your calculator you just went 1, so this is kind of how to make a mistake over here. If you take that 1.3 and you just leave it like that without the repeating part over the top, and then you put that over 1 and you take the negative reciprocal, so that's going to change into negative 1 over 1.3. Well, watch what happens. Negative 1 divided by 1.3, we no longer get 0.75. You get this close to 0.75, but not the same. And that might be enough to throw you to think that they're not negative reciprocals. It's very important when you have that repeating decimal that you put it in there to give yourself the right answer.